You are in for an interesting ride.
Hello and welcome to another ETN Files interview with me, your host over in the UK, Joanna Summerscales. I'm delighted today to introduce you guys to Dustin Schutta, who is in America. Now, I was very interested to hear about Dustin's cache of photographs of some of the Billy Meier ships, which were actually taken by Colonel Wendelle Stevens, who I have a great admiration for, as well as the Billy Meier case. So Dustin actually bid on these photographs and won them, I think, on eBay. And so we're going to have a chat with him, just a short interview to hear what he has to say about his experiences to do with this field, how he came across the photographs, what made him bid for them. And then we're going to see part of my interview in 2013. And this is with Bob Brown, who was one of the founders, along with Colonel Wendelle Stevens, of the International UFO Congress, which has been going for many years now. And when I sat and chatted with him back in 2013, he had a bit of story to tell about Billy Meier, which I think is quite relevant. And I hope you enjoy this interview. Forward to meeting you, Dustin, to hear about this exciting cache of wonderful photographs that you've got from one of my favorite people, as was in the UFO field, Colonel Wendelle Stevens. So please tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I grew up on the west side of Madison, Wisconsin, and lived here all my life. I love it. Got into UFOs at a young age. Always interested in sci-fi and just UFOs in general. And probably like in my mid 20s, I started getting into, or I saw Ancient Aliens on the History Channel and started watching that and got into Eric von Daniken's books. Started reading Chariots of the Gods, and this really kind of dove into it there just because I was so interested in the subject.
And what about, have you had any experiences, Dustin? Is there anything that's sort of paranormal or ET related?
I have, yeah. It was October 19th, 2012. I was just leaving my girlfriend's house at the time. And I was walking up to my car. It was parked on Kendall Avenue, right behind Hoyt Park. It's a big park in Madison. And as I was walking to my car, I just so happened to look into the sky. And out of the clouds came this giant silhouette of a boomerang with like 5 dim lit lights underneath it. And it was about like the size of a school bus. And it was about like 20 feet above the treetops. And it was dead silent when it flew right over my head. And I was just shocked. My hair's raised, my jaw dropped. I was shook to my core almost, like, whoa, what I just witnessed. You know, the fact that I was already kind of getting into ufology and actually getting to see it for myself, I was just so blown away.
And did it carry on moving, or did it stop at any time over you?
It did not. No, it was just casual. The fact that it didn't make any sound and it was dead silent, it just grabbed me. It shook me.
Do you feel that there was any communication, or that this was?
There wasn't. No. After that, I wanted to dive even further into ufology.
So you've had an up close and personal sighting then, and that's pretty wild. I would imagine that had a massive impact on you.
It did, enough where I almost dedicated my hobby to UFOs and actually finding out that Wisconsin is a treasure trove for the ancient astronaut theory and modern day UFO sightings. There's a spot called Aztlan where there's land pyramids that some archaeologists believe that the Mayans actually migrated north and built a little station area. I'm not exactly sure. Even Illinois has pyramids too that are connected to Aztlan. I think it's like the Aztlan, and then we have Rock Lake, that's by Lake Mills, that has 10 pyramids on the bottom of the lake. And there's a guy named Frank Joseph that wrote 2 books about the pyramids on the bottom of the lake.
Wow. And so you've had that one major sighting, that was huge, 2012.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
that sort of really set you on I guess, a fast track course of...
It did. It really did. It's a fast track of finding out what was that, why we're here.
And did you come up with any conclusions or have any changes in your development in any way, shape or form, psychologically, emotionally, any which way?
Besides becoming a very firm believer. No, just the quest of just figuring out where humans came from eats away at me almost every day. This
is what always seems to be the case, as these events, whether it's sighting or certainly interaction, has these incredible life-changing...
Changed my life in one way.
Yeah, your other half, do they share this interest?
My girlfriend?
Yeah.
Yes, my family does. My mom, my sister, my dad's so. But the fact that now that I'm actually making more of a impact, especially collecting these photographs that are actually gaining attention.
That's a good segue into what you've been doing. Tell us a little bit about what it is. That's the reason we're here and the reason I invited you to come onto the ETN files.
So I started collecting authentic photographs of UFOs 4 years ago. Just kind of like, I'm a big collector in general. I have stuff from World War II and my whole body's full of tattoos. I'm a big collector and everything. I just started dabbling into collecting UFO photographs. I talked to one guy who was collecting original negatives from cases, and then he has like a black room that he would develop pictures and sell them. So I got a lot of those from him. And then I was just so happened to be on eBay where I was looking up Wendelle Stevens books, and Wendelle Stevens had, I saw one picture that was pretty detailed description of where these pictures came from a storage locker in Utah. I started bidding all these bids and started winning all these bids. Only a few people were bidding against. I was very lucky to at least score about 200 or 300 pictures from Stevens' archives.
Do you have those separately that you can show us?
Well, I have some behind me. I have the ones that Stevens took himself with the F-117 stealth fighter.
Do you know much about that particular batch of photographs?
Michael Horn made a YouTube video describing that he went to Utah to that storage locker and went through 24 boxes of Stevens' archives. Apparently, the last box that he went into, he found, I think, 7 or 10 pictures of Stevens' own pictures of the Ascot's beam ship and the F-117 stealth fighter.
So look, just before we go any further, in case you know who Michael Horn is, would you like to say a little bit about him?
Michael Horn is Billy Meier ambassador for the US, and he's been doing it for 40 years too. Yeah. And I've been following his work for at least 10 years, and the Billy Meier case too, just being so blown away by it.
So he's a bit like a portal in some ways to Billy Meier's material, isn't he? He's sort of studied it and
right.
as well. So are you able to tell us about Ascot?
Ascot is a human extraterrestrial that Billy Meier has been interacting with, I think, back in the 60s and 70s. I don't think much anymore. Michael Horn knows a lot more than I do. Like, again, I just collect the pictures.
Yeah, so he's a contact, a bit like another being called Samyase. And so what you're looking at behind you, can you describe? I don't know if you have one to hand that you can show us.
If you could see that up close from that.
So we've got an aircraft there.
Yeah,
it's about the aircraft. Yep. You can see a ship, surely. So looking at an aircraft, which is an F-117. Mm-hmm. Do you know the date of those photographs?
1981.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it was taken in July, I think.
Okay, so July 1981. And who were they taken by?
By Wendelle Stevens himself. That's the claims from Michael Horn.
So at what vantage point is he taking those pictures?
On the ground. And this is near Groom Lake, apparently, too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so so this is not now in Switzerland, which is where Billy Meier lives. This is in America.
Right.
So I take it is the scenario that Colonel Stevens is on the ground in Groom Lake, looking up, taking those images. Is that right?
That's correct. And then apparently he was being picked up by Billy and Ascot at that time. Oh,
okay. So in the beam ship then that we're seeing in the picture, are you saying, as far as you know, as far as Michael Horn has told you, that actually Billy is on the ship with Ascot and then they're going to go and pick up Colonel Stevens?
That's correct. He didn't tell me personally, but Michael Horn made a YouTube video explaining that's the scenario of what happened.
So how many photographs did you actually manage to get of the Wendelle Stevens lot?
Oh man, close to 200.
And is he taking, are these images then more of still the beam ships related to Billy Meier, or all different?
All different. I think I sent you Mr. Musenberger's photo.
Yeah, so that was interesting too, actually, because
a friend of Meyer's.
Yeah, so Mr. Musenberger was about, I think, about half a mile away, vantage point from where Billy lives in Switzerland, Billy's farm.
That's correct.
And exactly a similar to what Billy had also taken just from this half a mile away vantage point where his home was, or nearby. So that's again from the time when Billy was started taking these photos back in the 70s and throughout. You know, there was no photoshopping and stuff like that.
There wasn't. Yeah.
At the time. And as Colonel Stevens said, you know, when he first met Billy, there was this one-armed guy with a broken camera, really, where the aperture was at fixed and you know, on a certain setting. So he said to even get these fantastic pictures, you know, most people with a really brilliant camera would have a hard job doing that. So,
right. And plus, I think it takes a lot of money to do something like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know that Stevens and his team spent an absolute fortune. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Not you know,
and years too. I think like 5 years or more.
Yeah,
on the case.
That's right. And not only that, they took certain images to the highest tech spec people to look at any potential for fraud, and there never was anything. And then bless him, Billy put himself through stress tests like lie detector tests.
Yes.
Showed absolutely nothing other than he was telling the truth about his sightings and about his relationship and anything else that they had asked him on. So can't think of any other case which is quite so incredibly well documented and analyzed and over such a period of time, and by the sort of scientific analytical team. You know,
I agree.
all different, you know, different skills, and I mean from all over different regions of skill set. Yeah.
Especially when he was in India too, when he started taking pictures of these beam ships in 1964. You know, and other people in India were seeing this too.
Yeah, yeah.
The families that he was living with and stuff.
Yeah. In fact, I think it wasn't that long ago, a lady came forward and met up with Billy to talk about, I think she was a little girl and she saw some ship.
Yep.
And how amazing is that? So,
it's amazing.
You know, for corroboration from all of those years back when Billy was a young man and she was a very little girl. But you remember?
Yes.
That's I took by the door of the youth hostel.
Just up like that?
Just up like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
You
know,
and this one here down is your grandfather's temple. And here somewhere in the front, in the middle of the area, was the body tree.
Yeah.
You know, here the road. Here it's the road from the Gurgon roadside with the gate here, and then is the road this way. Here the temple, the other buildings. Here the youth hostel, and here was the body tree. That's right?
Yes, that's right. And you saw this on near the body tree?
Over the temple.
Over the temple.
Yeah.
I saw quite a few like this. You know, in the summer when it gets hot, we sleep with the, remember charpai?
Yeah.
The bed, the string bed.
Yes.
Outside and looking up always. Sometimes I see.
Yeah.
in the summer. Oh, this one.
That's the same time as this one here. It's maybe a half a minute different.
I see. People were very, you know, calm and normal in the sense of going about their business in their daily life normally, and I think that enabled Asket walking around with Billy at the time, you know, going and maybe talking together without being interfered with or being disturbed by the people. I think the people were very kind of respectful in a sense. I also feel that there is certain kind of a special energy that enabled this thing to happen, because imagine to have an extraterrestrial walking among us without being affected by our energy and something. It's a very special thing, and I've always felt that Ashoka has a very harmonious and peaceful energy.
Government people and stressors coming in.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's crazy.
And I know even during the main documentary that Wendelle Stevens did on their research, toward the end,
yes,
there was a big ship that turned up one night, a big cylindrical, just
like a light ship.
Yeah, Billy didn't know it, and he was quite concerned and ran out with his gun.
Yes,
and you know, was very concerned, and when he next had communication with Playaran, they didn't know either who those guys were. You know, it takes something, doesn't it, to have your life completely turned upside down and your privacy and you know, so did Wendelle Stevens. You know, by his own account, he said at least on 2 occasions, there could have been more, you know, he was hooked into a debriefing environment and told, you know, shut up and put up. You know, we can do things, and we will, and he would stop for a little while. But why is it that we should stop this? And, you know, why was he so targeted? I mean, he was going into the stories of how a friend of his who was a great tech guy, and whose job it was to find, you know, bugged area, you know, kept on time after time stripping out the bugs, you know, the listening devices and all the rest of that in Wendelle Stevens' home. And Stevens said his friend would get in trouble, and he'd have visits then saying, you know, he could go to jail for touching government property, even though it's illegally, you know, put into people's homes. A difficult thing to endure.
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
Anyway, so it's very interesting because I think it was 2010 that Wendelle Stevens.
Yes, he died. Yeah. And it's cool that you interviewed Bob Brown too. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I'm his friends there.
Hello and welcome to AMASH in America. We're here at the 22nd International UFO Conference, and this is taking place in Arizona. And we're here now with Bob Brown, and Bob Brown was the founder of this fantastic, iconic conference, and he's come all the way to Arizona to be here, see the conference, and to tell us a little bit about what inspired him. Bob, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Can you tell us what first got you started on this road of creating this fantastic conference?
Well, yeah, we probably have to go back to my childhood, where it all began. That's okay. No, I'm jesting a little bit there. Let me correct one little thing you said there.
Okay.
I am the founder, but there were two of us that founded the International UFO Congress. Wendelle Stevens and myself founded the event. Now, after the first 4 years, Wendelle said, "Bob, I can't afford to lose any more money. Okay? I will continue to help you till my dying day, but I cannot lose another penny. So if it's going to continue, it's going to be on your shoulders." So Wendelle continued to be my partner and my mentor and my best friend in the world throughout all of it. But this idea that there could be something else out there, there could be somebody stopping by and tapping us on the shoulder and saying, hello, we're here, okay? There's nothing more fantastic and incredible in life.
I think it's the most important thing
It
to explore.
is the most important thing. There is nothing. Everything else pales in importance to the fact, I said fact, that we are not alone in the universe. Here's a question I pose to people, okay? Do you agree that the universe is infinite? Most people will say, well, yeah. The farther out our scientists look, we're looking out there gazillions of light years now.
Yeah.
The farther we look, we find more existence, more creation.
Yeah.
What is the possible reason of creating an infinite universe? For me, it's a simple answer. There's only one possible reason: infinite life. It's everywhere.
So what was the driving force then behind the setting up of the conference? Was there something to do with Wendelle's experiences?
No, not directly in any way. I had the strangest event ever happen to me ever in my life. We have to go back about 26, 27 years ago. Back then, I was mostly in the film business. And I would go to the Cannes Film Festival, the MIPCon actually, every year, buying and selling films. I'm at the Palais. The second day of the festival, they have a giant party at the Palais, which is on the other side of the bay, and it's a giant set of buildings, pavilion buildings with terraces connected, and there's 6,000 people from the convention that are here at the Palais at this party.
Right, okay.
And I'm walking through the crowd with a friend of mine, and we're talking film business, of course. What else? And as I'm walking through the crowd, a woman works her way across our path, and as my eyes fall on her and she's going across our path, a voice talked in my head. Now, not exactly like you and I are talking now, not exactly like that, but clearly and distinctly, a voice talked in my head, and it's the first and only time this has ever happened to me. And I guess I'm easy, because it changed me fundamentally when this occurred.
I mean, was this, can I just ask you about the voice?
Yes.
Did it have a gender to it? Was it
No.
familiar?
It was genderless, but what it said was a very simple statement. You must talk to this woman. You must talk to this woman. It repeated and repeated and repeated. And so we walked across the terrace, we reached the next pavilion building, and I said goodbyes to my friend. He realized I wasn't there anymore, and I wasn't. And because this is going off in my head, and I'm panicking, I'm freaking out. I didn't know what was going on. And so the next thing I remember, I'm gulping a liquor drink. There's bars all over, and I'm gulping a liquor drink, and I'm walking in circles with this going off in my head. And I said, okay, I'll talk to her. And it stopped. It was like somebody hit a light switch. Boom. It stopped. And so now I'm panicked, because how am I going to find her? It's over 6,000 people at this party. And so, okay, I'll talk to her. I got to find her. So I retraced my steps. Okay, I think it was about here where she crossed, and I walked through the crowd, worked my way through the direction she was going. I got to the edge of the terrace, and there's tables along the Mediterranean at the edge of the terrace. There's tables, and she's sitting there. This woman is actually sitting down, and she's talking to two men. And I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to, I can't just walk up to this woman and say, I got to talk to you. I don't know who she is. I have no idea who she is. So I said, okay, I'm just going to ease my way up to them, and I'm just going to listen to what they're saying. So I do that. And lo and behold, they're talking about these young men's next film project, which, if they get the funding, is going to be a documentary on the 20th anniversary of the Concorde supersonic airliner. They want to do this documentary. And so wow, I said, thank you so much. What an incredible way to be led to these guys, because these are the kind of people I'm here to meet, right? So I turn around. Geez, I couldn't help overhearing what you guys were talking about. Forgive me. Here's my card. I'm with World Aviation Video, and we really would love to talk to you about North American distribution of this film if you make it. Okay? So we talk shop for 15 minutes or so, and these guys go on and take off, and now I'm left with this gal, right? Very personable, intelligent, nice-looking young lady. So we're talking, mostly shop. We're hanging out. We have some hors d'oeuvres. We have some wines. And then we look at each other, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later. Well, what do you want? Well, you ready to go back? Yeah, I'm ready to go back. So we get on the bus, taking us back down to the Palais. And she's sitting next to the window and seat, and I'm sitting on the aisle seat. Now, I have to backtrack a little and give you some background. Before I left to Cannes for that year, about 3 or 4 months before then, I had read a book that was written by Gary Kinder, and it was called Light Years. It was an update on the Pleiadian case, first reported on in the United States by Wendelle Stevens. Okay? Now, in this book, he talked about what really happened with the case, about how the case was killed in the United States by APRO and NICAP. And I was a member of both of those organizations.
Can you just tell us what they are for
well,
the viewers?
They were the first nationwide organizations where people could give membership support and get information about what is going on in ufology. The summons, here's the bottom line of the story. Both of these organizations heard about the Billy Meier case almost simultaneously, within 24 hours of each other. And they both were organizations that were struggling to get membership, struggling to stay afloat financially, to continue doing the work that they were doing in telling people on a monthly basis via their newsletters what was happening in the UFO field. They contacted Billy Meier, both organizations, and had extensive conversations with him about his case and what was happening.
And can you just give us just a couple of sentences about his case for those who won't know?
Oh, okay. Billy Meier was a one-armed Swiss caretaker slash farmer who was having regular, ongoing contact with ETs.
Yeah.
And this contact was documented with visual sightings, trace sightings, actual metals and things that are left over, and the most amazing photo and motion picture evidence that we have to date.
Yeah, I think that Wendelle was involved in a lot of the analysis of the photographs as well, wasn't he?
He was the prime investigator from the United States that paid attention to the case and went over and dug into it. People don't understand how incredible the case was. This case was so full of synergistic and virtually paranormal events that happened not just to Meier throughout the whole thing, but they extended to the people that got close to him. The stuff that happened with Wendelle during his investigation Wendelle didn't talk about it because he felt that it would take away from the reality of the case itself, because it was such high strangeness. I mean, virtually paranormal magic was going on around this entire case all the time. So it was an amazing case. To this day, I say it's still the best case that we have out there, ever. So I read this book by Gary Kinder, and he told about how these organizations killed the case in the United States, at least, by saying that it was all phony. And the reason that they said it was Meier agreed to have them over. His material was open to anyone that wanted to come and see it. They could investigate the sites, the photos, the motion picture film, the witnesses, the physical evidence, etc., etc., etc.
Yes, he was very cooperative, wasn't he?
Very cooperative to anyone that really wanted to know the truth of it. And so they said, we'll be there next week. We'll have our representative there. But first we have to cable you our exclusivity agreement. And Meier said, wait a minute, what exclusivity agreement? Oh, we can't afford to take our limited resources and put them into the investigation of your case unless we have an exclusive on it. And Meier said, no, absolutely not. What's happening here is a story for the world. It's not exclusive to anyone. So each organization independently came to exactly the same conclusion. We have to torpedo this case in case our competitive organization latches onto it and agrees to this and reports it. We have to torpedo it first. So it was this intense competition and rivalry between these organizations that caused them to torpedo the Meier case. They did it in the worst possible way, the way that most torpedoing is still done in the whole field today, and that is an investigator from their armchair, sitting in their armchair, okay, proclamation, oh, that's phony, that's all wrong, that's not real, those people are $3 bills, etc., etc., etc. Still the way it's done today. But to find out about 12 years later, right, that these organizations that I supported had done this, I was furious, okay, number one. But more importantly, number two, after reading the book, I realized that this is a real case.
Yes.
Night and day on my mind, the biggest question in my mind, I would go to sleep with this question on my mind, I would wake up with this question on my mind, right? Is the Meier case real? So in between the MIPCON and the MIFED, the Milan Film Festival, which follows it, there's a 9-day window. I said, I will rent a car and I'll drive to Switzerland. I'll see if I can find this place called Schmidt-Rudi, and I'll see if I can actually, you know, do my own investigation of it. And maybe with some luck, I'll even get to meet Meier. So this was on my mind, consuming me for 3.5, 4 months before going there. So now it's 2 days into the conference, and I'm left talking with this woman, right? So we're going back on the bus. We're talking about what we're doing, and I said, hey, I'm showing a new film in 3 days in such and such time in theater so-and-so, and it's in 70 millimeter. It's a documentary on the SR-71 Blackbird. And she says, oh, I'd love to go see that film. She says, but I won't be here because I have to leave day after tomorrow. I have to meet my film crew, and I'm going to do a story on whether the elephant is going to be declared an endangered species or not. And I'm going to meet the crew, and we're doing it from Switzerland, where they're making the announcement. So she says, Switzerland, right? What pops into my head? But what's been driving me crazy for 4 months? The truth of the Meier case, right? So I said to her, never expecting an answer, really, you know. I said, well, that's Switzerland. I said, does the name Edward Billy Meier mean anything to you? She melted up against the window, and she screamed at me, who the hell are you? How do you know Edward Billy Meier? Are you NSA? Are you CIA? You know, so I mean, I was just overwhelmed, and so I just was calm, and I said, no, I said, I'm who I told you I was. I do documentary films. I deal in them, I work in them, and I read this book, Light Years, and I just was thinking about trying to get in my own mind, to the truth of this in between the two conventions. So she says, you really aren't NSA, you really aren't you really aren't Air Force Special Services, you aren't no, I'm not any of those things. I'm who I am. I'm Bob Brown. And she said, okay, she says, we got to talk. She says, can you come to my hotel with me? I says, well, yeah, I can. So I go to the hotel, she checks her messages, and it takes her 10 minutes, and she comes down. She says, okay, I'm free. So we walk out along the Mediterranean, we find this little all-night bar cafe, and we're sitting out there, and we sat down, and we commenced to have this incredible talk about UFOs, and about paranormal, and about Edward Billy Meier.
Right.
Because it turns out that she herself had been there, not, you know, more than once.
Oh, what, to meet to Schmidt-Rudi?
Yes,
Is that the right
yes.
phrasing? Yeah.
And so she herself had done all the things that I wanted to do, right? And the only bad thing from that meeting was that she did kind of discourage me from going on my own. She said, he'll be very happy to meet you and see with you and talk with you, but you got to write him first. You've got to tell him you're going to come, You've got to get like an invitation, because if you just show up, it's not going to be good. Okay? And so I did let her convince me to do that part of it. But it turned out that short of meeting Wendelle right then, at that time, and I hadn't met Wendelle, and short of meeting Wendelle or Billy Meier himself, she was probably the best person in the entire world that I could have met at that moment in time to talk about with the Billy Meier case. Right?
Prompted by your voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, do you have any idea who this woman was?
No, do tell.
No idea?
No.
Okay. Her name was Linda Moulton Howe. She had just finished her first big coffee table book on cattle mutilations.
Oh, sure.
At that time. So that was when I first met her. And so what I'm saying is that I'm easy, because when I got back, I said, this is all just unbelievable, right? Remember, a voice talked in my head. Now, I don't know the last time you've had a voice talk in your head.
Hasn't happened yet.
And lead you to exactly who you need to be led to in the entire world, right?
Yeah.
At that moment of your life, okay? So I said, wow, I'm making documentary films, okay? Maybe I need to make a documentary film on the UFO phenomenon. So that's what ended up happening with a partner, Ted Oliphant, and we made a documentary called UFOs, A Need to Know. It was a feature length, finished out at 93 minutes, and to this day I think it's one of the greatest introductory kinds of things that's been done in the field. And so all of that was due to this. Now, I said that we have to start at the beginning when I was a kid. Well, look, from the time that I was a kid, I had interest in these subjects, okay? And my interest, you know, waned and grew and waned and grew, you know, throughout my life. But it was always there, and this just jump-started me.
Yeah.
It kicked me in the ass, and it said, hey, you are supposed to be doing something, right? So in the process of making the documentary, and in the process of crisscrossing the country, we went to all of the UFO conferences that there were to go to at that time.
Okay.
And universally, all of them, in my humble opinion, were being done, most of them for the wrong reasons, in the wrong way. And at the end of it all, I said it can be done better. It can be done with respect for the person that's trying to come there and get information, which means that you don't do it as a dog and pony show. You don't have 5 speakers speaking in front of each other in 5 different lecture halls where you have to get an ulcer trying to figure out who you want to hear, right? You don't charge exorbitant prices, because you're not doing this to make money, okay? You're doing this to give the presenters, the researchers, the speakers a platform that's respectful and which is for them alone. When the curtain goes up and they're making their information available, that is whose information is being available at that time, not 6 other people competing. Okay, not what it was about. So we structured the International UFO Congress. First of all, it was designed to be a week-long event. People said, Bob, you're crazy. You can't do a week-long event, right? Well, turns out you can.
You definitely can.
Long story short, I think that over the 20 years that we did the conferences, we did 24 conferences over 20 years, and I think that we've basically proved all the naysayers wrong.
Yeah, I think you did. And I think you've left us a fantastic legacy, which is continued here with open minds. You know, we can't thank you enough.
Well, yes, it's been a great journey.
Yeah.
It's a great journey.
Yeah.
And for those people that are getting ready to make the journey, there's nothing else in your life that you can ever spend your time and your energy trying to get to the bottom of than the reality that we are not alone.
And that is exactly what Bob Dean said, whom we've just spoken to as well, and I think it's the most important thing that humanity can focus on.
Indeed it is.
Bob Brown,
Well, thank you for spending some time.
Point about that is that even in America, two factions which shouldn't be against anything like Billy's work because he wouldn't give them exclusivity, that's what I will say, they just dissed him, as they say.
It's totally unfair, and the fact that they sideline him, even though I think he's very important into the ufology.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, I'm glad that Gaia is finally acknowledging him now.
Yes, yeah.
And that's amazing. It's a big step for Billy Meier, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that it's happening whilst he's still with us on the
yes.
So
yeah, right.
He's probably long retired. A lot of the association that the ETs had with him was about alerting his planetary leaders to the issues of the planet,
global warming and terrorists and
but not as in the Greta Thunberg version though. Not and one day when we're all grown up, that is, we will know full well the amazing message from Billy and others. So just before we close, you've been putting out another cache of photographs.
Yeah, Paul Villa.
Yes, thank you.
From New Mexico. I think he started taking his pictures around 1965 too. And his stuff is as good as Billy. As good as Billy's pictures. Yeah. They're so clean and clear, and there's multiple, and then I have about 30 or 40 pictures.
Wonderful. Well, what we'll do is we'll do this again, and then we'll show Paul Villa's images, and that will be fantastic.
That would be perfect.
These images have come to you. You're the custodian of them now. So
yes,
that's wonderful, because he's just one of those star cases, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. So I just wondered if you had anything else you wanted to share about.
I'm going to continue collecting pictures. And again, I'm still in contact with Michael Horn. Me and him have been emailing back and forth, and I talked to him once. I'm on the phone after. So the reason how he contacted me was I put those photographs on Billy Meier's fan page on Facebook. And it kind of went viral, where all these people are trying to contact Michael to talk to me. And we kind of hit it off after that. He's a super nice guy, very enthusiastic. Yeah, it was an awesome honor talking with him.
Yeah, that's great. Well, he has been such a fantastic supporter of Billy, and all right, Dustin. Well, thanks for your time. And
well, thank you very much.
These lovely images, and share them with people
that would be great. It'd be an honor. Well, thank you. I hope you have a great day.